This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Infinity Isle, and I just have a list of replays, some from Red Alert 3, some from Kane's Wrath, that I'm going to be casting. I don't know anything about much of them, but over here on the left side, we do have Eminence from Teammates. He is the Green Empire. That much I do know. His opponent is going to be as the Blue Allies from Team Orbit. You know him. I have been casting a lot of him lately. It's c9q9md. Who's, of course, going to be smurfing as whatever that math equation is, or somebody's law, and it's something, it equals 0, blah, blah. Anyways, we've got Fast Vindicators going to be out of C9, and as I said, I have a number of replays on my hard drive. Some of them are just Kane's Wrath, hopefully some pretty awesome games there. Some of them are going to be Red Alert 3, some from the 5-year anniversary 1v1 tournament. There's some awesome games that I may have missed there, but is it going to be just fast cryo? No, it's actually... Wait a... What are you doing? C9. Ordinarily, you see like a fast Vindicator with cryocopter, but this is a little bit more peculiar. C9 with a really bizarre opener, a double Vindicator opener. Is he... I'm assuming he's following it up. What in the world is he doing? I'm assuming it's going to be a follow-up with a relatively quick cryocopter. But no, the MCV is actually packing up. He didn't actually have enough time to get a... I mean, I guess he's just going for fast Vindicators, which is not something you see very often. More often than that, you see just fast cryocopter with a Vindicator, and then they go for killing off some Dojo Core, or killing off some cores, killing off some harvesters, that sort of thing. But this is just like straight up fast airfield, which is a little bit unusual. Not super wonky, but definitely threw me for a little bit of a loop, just because I don't know that I've ever actually seen it in a competitive replay. But we do have one Vindicator maybe going down. It looks like one Tengu does get eliminated there. A nice pickup for C9, and as you can see, he had, although we do have an engineer healing up that Mecha Bay, he did take that Mecha Bay down to about half HP. An additional airfield going down. He may just be transitioning all of his aircraft over to this field, but a quick note, as Eminence, many of you probably did notice, he has grabbed both of those oil derricks, so it's going to be a nice economic pickup for him. And of course, if he can actually score any kills on the airfield, that would actually be an absolutely huge deal. Vindicators are not exactly cheap. However, if C9 is able to just continue this air dominance, he may not actually need too strong of a ground army to support. He may just be able to survive with a couple of multi-gunner turrets for static defense, because, I mean, 2 airfields this quickly is actually, that's a huge amount of air power able to be put out. Eminence is a strong player, but I don't know how much he's been playing lately. He's definitely not going for his fast third refinery on the ridge, with, of course, the wall swag in the middle to slow things down. But we do have a nice harass by Eminence. This is absolutely what he needs. However, it's been dealt with quite excellently by C9. As you can see, he took very minimal damage there, and he's even going to be able to phase that harvester right through the ore mine and get right back to work. So he lost pretty minimal mining time. Did take a little bit of damage on the harvesters and on the ore refineries, but nothing too major there. And additionally, the damage actually on the airfield is a lot more important. However, we do have more Vindicators going to be coming out, but the tier 2 is done. A nice sell-off there by Eminence, and all of the bombs have been wasted, but I don't think any lives were claimed in that attack run, so it definitely was a success for C9. He was able to get rid of that multi-gun, or get rid of the turret, the Defender VX, out of Eminence. So a kind of nice pickup there for C9, but really that's not going to be winning him the game. And the longer that this game goes on, the more that Eminence is going to be able to stabilize. However, once we have the 4 refineries out of Eminence, and we actually may have a couple of Peacekeepers to clear the building, followed up by an engineer to capture that oil derrick. However, if Eminence is able to get up to those 4 refineries and maintain this economic lead that he's had for the majority of the game, we could see him just sort of barrel roll, and by that I mean snowball. I don't know why I said barrel roll, but it is going to be a Peacekeeper out first, going to be clearing that building, possibly followed up by an engineer to go ahead and clean up that building. And he does have a Defender VX core. It is already on the ground target mode, so he doesn't quite have it on the missiles to take down air targets, which is maybe a little bit annoying, just because he's going to have to hit F to switch that over when the inevitable harass does swing around there. Although we do have a couple of Javelin Troopers. There's going to be the engineer. And Javelin Troopers, I mean, this could be kind of a late infantry transition for C9, in that he just never got those barracks early on. And he may actually be going for a couple more strikes to go ahead and finish off that oil derrick. It is going to take him quite a few more bombs. but that would be a relatively safe target for him to do a minor amount of damage, but he definitely needs to do some damage. Look at that Eminence switching over the Defender VX to go ahead and get some air damage out, but the Apollos are going to be doing some really solid damage here too, and there's no transforms here, absolutely no saving of those Tengus. 3 Tengus do go down for the price of, I believe, 0 Apollos, which is a great trade for C9. Even if he lost 1 Apollo there, even 2 Apollos, it would still technically be worth it. 1 Apollo does go down right there. However, 1 VX does go down. A 2nd Apollo is claimed. However, Vindicators are going to be swinging, and a third VX does go down. However, the Tengus are landing overhead, and rather not landing, but flying overhead. They do transform down. This is going to be potentially a nice engagement here by... Never mind, as Eminence is just sort of not doing a whole lot with this force. He sort of split them up, and I think he was going to try to get... Yeah, he's trying to hit both of the Harvesters, but it didn't actually work as well as he would have liked. He's lost quite a bit here. He has set C9 behind economically, but Harvester for Harvester, C9 is going to be in a better position in terms of Harvester kills because his Harvesters are 400 credits cheaper than the Harvesters of Eminence. So, in terms of just straight up trading Harvesters, it's not going to be as effective of a harass for Eminence as it is going to be for C9. So C9 definitely did take some damage there, but with how much Eminence lost, I'm not convinced that was actually a useful engagement here. However, Eminence is losing even more. 3 more Tengus do go down, possibly 4 might fall. However, 1 Apollo did get eliminated, and if a couple of Vindicators go down, it may be worth it. 1 Vindicator does go down, but still 3 Apollos for a Vindicator and an Apollo is not a good trade for Eminence. He's been maybe behind economically. I do believe he had the 3rd base up first, and he also had the oil there for a significantly longer time. Another nice pickup there by Eminence, so I feel slowly, bit by bit, he's kind of clawing his way back in. The early Vindicators and actually the dual airfield play out of C9 hasn't done a huge amount of damage, so now C9 is going to be forced to probably transition into something a little bit more standard. I wouldn't be too surprised if he ended up packing his MCV up, heading back to the ridge after establishing his 4th refinery, and then transitioning into a little bit stronger of a ground army, although he may just decide to go for lots of infantry to support his air force. Eminence needs to waypoint his refinery, get it unpacked ASAP, because, yeah, C9 is about to be taking his own 4th refinery, which is really the best thing that he can do, especially locking it down with that multi-gunner turret, because as soon as he kind of equalizes economically, that opens up a number of options for him to do. And I mean, once you fill up your airfields, you only have to worry about refilling them, and that a lot of that does come down to control, because with the return to base speed of the Apollos and of the Vindicators, you can avoid the loss of a number of units, and that just makes your units that much more worth it. But then you're not re-spending that money because you're getting the free repairs, because you're able to, potentially save a lot of your units. But what's not going to be saved is this expansion. Even with the multi-gunner turret, the nice point defense drones are lending a ton of damage output to this army. 2 Vindicators are swinging overhead, but selling off that refinery means that these Tengus can transform at any moment. And C9 is going to be packing up his MCV, moving it into the mid-ground a little bit closer inland. But that was the pickup that Eminence needs. He just needs to continue. He needs to continue his sort of dominance in the airspace, because in a straight engagement, I'm not convinced, especially with point defense drones, that C9 could engage this many Tengus. So C9 needs to thin out the herd. However, Javelin Troopers are absolutely going to be doing that. So Eminence is going to be moving in, but C9, if he gets some nice shots off, he may be evening things up in terms of army. Oh, but bringing in the Chopper VXs, he is actually going to be going for the walls there. A couple of Vindicators do show up. However, the Apollos are now here, and the splits are going to be good enough in terms of the Apollos. However, one of those VXs does get locked down, and a single shot from a Javelin Trooper will be able to eliminate that quite readily. Shatter it right there does go down. However, the remaining Chopper VXs do transform. One gets eliminated. The second will escape. Rather, the 3rd Chopper VX does escape, but now it's out on the water. 2 Apollos are going to be leading, and they don't even care because it can't do anything about it. So what could have been a really great harass from Eminence actually turned into just sort of a mediocre attack. I'm not sure that he actually did enough damage. Both of these players are actually defending remarkably well, and I'm not actually sure what happened right there, but it wasn't actually a kill. It wasn't a kill by the Harvester, but the Tengu did go down. A second Tengu gets eliminated. A 3rd and a 4th may go down. 3 does go down, but will 4 get eliminated? Yes, it will. The Apollo's picking up another kill. So I feel Eminence may be ahead economically, but in terms of sheer army losses, he is most likely behind. But there were a number of losses in terms of aircraft for C9. So I'm not sure where these players stand, if they have completely equalized or if one of them is ahead massively at this point. But they seem to be trading fairly evenly. Whichever player is able to do more harass will likely be able to gain enough of an edge to start steamrolling. But oh man, with those cryocopters, C9, he's got the control to absolutely do massive amounts of damage with that cryocopter. Maybe not as much as Lichter has in games of the past, but still, you don't always have to be as good as Lichter to win a good game. However, we do have going to be garrisoning, and a couple of javelin troopers into that structure could provide some extra couple of shots that C9 needs to thin out the herd of Eminence. And we do have a spy. Do we have any other spies? We just have one thus far. Nice buy, C9 going to be getting the repairs on his units, selling off a second mecha bay. I guess Eminence just can't afford to quite produce off of that. Double Mecha Bay Tengu Striker is actually a really, really potent sort of follow-up and mid to late game strategy, as Tier 3 for Empire just tends not to work out. You invest so much into that single structure, and then it's like if you lose that Tier 3 Mecha Bay, it can almost just be an unrecoverable GG at that point, where you're just like, well, I lost my Tier 3, that's like $5 grand down the drain. So I guess I'll just GG, because now I'm reset to Tier 1. But regardless, Wave Force Artillery would definitely help, but with the cryocopters there, and actually with the spy, wherever he went, he's actually packed up with these Peacekeepers, so we could see some huge Tengu basically changing side, where they become Benedict Arnold Tengus, and they just sort of turn on their allies and start doing some massive damage. But the Apollos may have been caught down with their, away from the army, out of position, and that was it wasn't a huge pickup by Eminence, killing only one Apollo. He really needed to kill about 3 there to gain a nice edge, because then that's a fair amount of investment from C9, but then that's also a nice big sort of leap in terms of air control for Eminence. And there's one spy. Does he have a second spy? It doesn't look like it. He needs to go ahead and keep that spy with his army to some degree. However, of course, keeping it as a Peacekeeper, as long as Peacekeepers aren't seen as a threat, then your opponent likely won't be force firing it. But yeah, Peacekeepers in this army versus this army composition of Eminence will not be viewed as a threat. However, we do actually have assault destroyers, 2 of them out on the field, a hydrofoil as well. However, one Vindicator does get picked off there. And actually, the cryocopter as well would have been really nice for Eminence to grab, but he was able to pull back. Nice control there by Eminence. The Jet Tengu not going to be taking too much damage there. I mean, by that, I mean he's still alive. He didn't actually take a fair amount of damage there. But I was thinking maybe an armor facility, but actually black hole armor on the assault destroyer or assault destroyers may actually be the better way to go. And C9 losing a couple of walls there, not a huge deal. Needs to go ahead and rally these assault destroyers, do something with them. He might be able to swing around and start harassing the expansion of Eminence, but that expansion has actually been around so long that it's getting down to below half of its ore. If this game goes on too much longer, these 2 players may actually see themselves with depleted ore refineries, or ore nodes rather, which would be quite bizarre. Doesn't happen very often. However, the cryocopter, as they are known for, artillery are very excellent, but cryocopters shrinking and freezing those very weak artillery units. It's known to be changing some games and really edging out stalemates to give one player the advantage. However, a couple of multi-gunner turrets could also be staving off this army. They're going to be looking for an opening, and they may actually find one out here on the water. There's not enough hydrofoils here to really focus down the air army quickly enough. However, with the Apollos here, 2 Tengus do get eliminated. However, Cryocopter gets claimed. A second one may be taken down as well. The Apollos are not in great enough numbers, but with the hydrofoils here, it may actually be enough to break the ranks of Eminence. Eminence may have made a critical mistake in flying over these multi-gunner turrets, and the Javelin Troopers is just adding insult to injury. 4 Tengus escape, hot on the heels of them, and Apollo to chase them down. C9 may be able to just, no, maybe not with those Apollos that weak. He may not be able to engage, but Eminence going to be letting fall a couple of more Tengus. One gets eliminated right there in the middle of the map. He is going to be pressing forward. He's mostly relying on Imperial Warriors. We could be seeing some absolutely epic purchases by this spy. Actually, an additional spy as well. Is C9 going to get it? Does he? He's going to be going for the Wave Force Artillery is... Oh, does he figure it out? Eminence does not know what's happening, but it is everything going to be going down. It's so close. Does C9 even have the money that he needs? His entire third refinery and his fourth refinery, rather. I don't actually remember, but the EMP is absolutely a perfect hit there as almost everything gets locked down. One King Oni does still remain, but the assault destroyers are going to be nabbing that damage up. However, the infantry aren't actually doing anything. That EMP may have been just the time buy that C9 needed. This King Oni can't hold its own versus this many infantry. And a second, oh, that is it. Eminence has been defeated, losing on the front line there versus C9. What a weird opener from C9, something you don't see very often. What an odd game overall. That was just sort of ended. It was kind of just like, here's the big battle, and nope, we're not going to see the whole thing. But as you can see, Eminence was ahead economically for that pretty much that entire game. How much of a difference did that actually make? Only about 6,000 credits, which isn't a huge deal. Spread across 15 minutes. Yeah, no. Not a dealio at all. So, overall, I think C9 did more damage in terms of units lost. I really wish we don't have that graph, do we? I mean, we have that, but that can be quite deceiving. So overall, I feel like C9 maybe played a little bit better. Eminence, however, did some excellent harassing there. However, he just threw away a few too many units. And then that EMP there, freezing all of Eminence units and keeping those Wave Force artillery and the King Onis in place while the rest of the army moved in, sectioned off, and sort of boxed away certain units. And I'm not actually sure if one of those King Onis got purchased or not by C9, but Eminence couldn't hold the front line, and he didn't have any defense after that. So not necessarily an absolutely stellar game, but both of these players playing very well, and a GG for sure. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and this is Sybert signing out.